Good
Good
morning.
morning,
You are live.
everyone, and welcome to yeah.
Just a second.
Good morning, everyone, and we welcome you to our latest talk titled "How do we write a good review of literature?" This talk will be spoken by Dr. Shilpi Gupta, Associate Professor, Department of Economics, Manipal University of Jaipur. Now, before we begin the lecture, the talk, I'd like to say a few words about Dr. Shilpi Gupta, who has been here with us a previous time. Uh, a little bit about Dr. Shilpi. Now, Dr. Shilpi Gupta is presently working as an associate professor of economics at Manipal University, Jaipur, in India. She is a recipient of gold medal in her BA and has completed her MA in economics and PhD from the University of Rajasthan. She has a rich and varied teaching experience of over 20 years at both UG and PG levels in various colleges, business schools, and universities of repute. Prior to her joining in Manipal University in Jaipur, she worked with the Central University of Rajasthan, handling various academic and administrative assignments. Apart from teaching, her primary interest is research, covering vast areas of economics with a special focus on issues of environmental economics, macroeconomics, and government policies. She has been an extensive researcher in the field of environmental economics. To her credit, she has published and presented more than 25 research papers in Scopus Index, peer reviewed journals, book chapters, book at her number of attended national and international conferences. Dr. Shilpi has completed three research projects funded by RIICO, Reliance in Manipal University, Jaipur. And in addition, she also has, to her credit, two DST sponsored project collaborations with the Department of Microbiology, Central University of Rajasthan. She has also done project consultancies for various MNCs. She has worked on both working uh, on both MNCs. She has worked on four working papers for Government of Rajasthan on demographic challenges, status of health sector, and status of higher education, etc. She has organized various university level events like seminars, workshops, and expert talks. She has also supervised more than 20 projects. She has served in her capacity as chair, convener, and technical program committee member in many conferences. She has delivered keynote and expert talks in international conferences and other events. She has also served as reviewer of leading international journals. She is an active member of the Indian Economic Association, European Association of Environmental and Resource Economists, and World Economic Association. Thank you, and over to you, Shilpi ma'am.
Thank you, dear. So, today I try to discuss and try to share my knowledge about how to write a good review of literature because it's very, very difficult. First, it is difficulty level is how we read this review of literature because to read something which is not interested in your interest area, so it's very difficult. So to being a researcher and to being a academician, this is not a very difficult task for research scholars only, but it is a difficult task for academician only, that how this review of literature and how we read it, how we write it, and to whom we read it. So the literature is very difficult, but I assure you, when I finish my this lecture, definitely you enjoy and you start playing with the review of literature. So it's not very difficult task. So when we start, this is research. There are so many things in this picture. You just check it out. There's in a very small square slide there are so many words. Why I select this slide only? Because it's my interest area, because I want to teach you something about this. Research is in the middle of this, and you have to do this and you have to do that, and the vision and analysis and planning and ability, how so many words are there, but how we do, how we start. There is no word in this picture who tell us you where you have to start. You just read out the slide and the picture. So there are so many good and important word are there. That is strategy. Oh yeah, I know that how to make it a strategy, but how? And second is you have to say you have some vision. you have some planning, you have some analysis, and you have some ability to pursue this. But nowhere it is mentioned how I start. I know everything, but nobody tells you how I start. I know that that is my target of 3 years that I have to finish this PhD with this topic. But where and how we start, that is a very biggest question for each and every research scholar, not only research scholar, as an academician, and when I start my some research paper. So, my dear, so first question is how to read. How to read that literature. That is most important question. Whom to read? And third important question is what to read and what it is and why it is and how to conduct it. There are so many questions in a small brain when you are in the learning stage and when you are in the nursery of the PhD or research. These six questions jiggle your mind and this create the confusion, nothing else. There are so many papers on your table, but which one I start first? But how is what is the style I have to adapt to read that article? That is most important. But if no one helps you out, definitely that confusion creates some problem. That is a stress, nothing else. Stress and the tension. But your research supervisor always said this: stress and tension. If you are in a stress, if you are in tension, it's caused only by the faulty time management. This is a very favorite quotation of each and every supervisor, because supervisor always said this is because of you all, because you not do the time proper time management. If your time management was proper, so stress and tension will never comes in the research scholar's life. But it's not actually. The problem is this: because the small research scholar, the cute research scholar doesn't know how to start. This is the biggest problem, how to start. If your research supervisor tells you ki, how you have to start like this, then the journey is very smooth. But the point is this. So this is most important point ki, where we have to go. There are so many ways. There are so many ways. I can go here and here, but you just find out with where I have to return. We don't know. There is some other ways. If I go here, then I return back. So this is a puzzle where we have to go. So my dear scholars, this is very important, but don't worry about it. It's okay if we not don't know anything, but if we start, definitely we'll get the success. So what if you never written anything? If you haven't read a literature review that says this review of literature, it sounds very scary. Oh my goodness, the review of literature is a very difficult task of any research paper and thesis and research, because your research supervisor used to tell you read 50 to 40 papers, then after next meeting please come with 40 to 50 paper reading. I agree that we have to finish the 40 to 50 paper as a research supervisor said, because you have no voice to say hers, to tell her or him, ki no, sorry, how is it possible that I have to read 40 to 50 paper? Which paper I have to select, I don't know, but research scholars has a voice, but the mouths of research scholar is zipped. So my dear, my advice is to all the research scholars, please open your zip and try to ask the question to research supervisor. Agreed that you have to tell us that you have to read the 20 or 40 or 50 papers, we will do, but tell us something about it, ki how we read, how we start. So this is the most important point. After this lecture, this scary word, the literature review, the scary word may sound very smooth and very light. और आपके कानों में they play the music of the research review of literature. So now the important thing, basically, whether we have to first we have to understand what is this review of literature. So this is, if you go with the definition, I'll give you the picture about the two side of the coin. If you go with the definition which is written in each and every book, that review of literature is survey of scholarly articles. We know that. Review of literature is read the books from other sources like dissertation, conference proceedings, relevant particular issue. This blah blah blah. We know it everything, but the most important question is provides a short description and critical evaluation of work and critical of the topic and offers an overview of significant literature published on a topic. We know that what is the review of literature? Okay, literature. So, what is a review of literature? Actually, the review of literature is some articles, books, or sources which is available, whether in form of conference proceeding, in form of research paper. We know that it very well. And the review of literature means it provides a short description about the critical evaluation which is done by the researcher, whomsoever it is. It's okay, but we know everything. Everything we know already, but what's new in this slide? What new I will tell you in the next 45 minutes or next 45 minutes. Why you are there to listen me? Okay, you know it very well already, then why you are here? So let's discuss this new thing. You know it very well, but one before you not don't know, each and every scholar must know about the starting point where you have to start. So, before starting, the key point of review of literature, this is find out yourself what does the research says. Find out what the research says. If I suppose I select this yellow book which is in my hand, if it is so, so why I select this book and what finding I have to take in from this book. So this is very important. You have to find out it. Okay, what research says, and the what research says means this is theory, nothing else. Okay, what kind of research it is. So next important is how the research carried out. When you start the reading of the any paper, the first objective of yourself will decide this first objective yourself. Okay, what research, whatever this research paper is, what is the theory, what is the takeaway point, find out it. Okay, what is the takeaway point of this research paper? So if you find out your answer, oh, this is the takeaway point, then it means that you have to understand the theory of that particular paper which you select. Okay, and find out how this research carried out. How? So that is about the methodology. And second important is find out. Okay, he designed this theory, he adopted this methodology. What kind of things is missing? That is nothing. That is gap of the research gap. So let's we discuss one by one. This is a main important point. The key point of review of literature. Each and every student or each and every research scholar and academician know it very well. In your class 6 6 month coursework, your instructor comes and run the slide about it only. This is the key points of review of literature and this is the definition. We know it everything. Okay, we have to read it, this and that, but what's new in this? So first important thing is your literature review should account what has been published on a topic. Published material, you read only the published material on that topic. And second important, it could be part of a grant of research proposal, or it could be it point. But the most important point is that your review of literature may do the following: the summarization, synthesization, and reinterpret the old material. So, what is actually the research review of literature? So, if we try to define it, review of literature. So, a review of literature is summarize something. That small paragraph of your learning about that particular 20 or 30 pages review or the research paper. So you summarize that paper. So that summary of that paper gives a key information about that complete research paper. Okay, synthesize that review of literature. Second is reinterpret the old material. This is a common things of review of literature, but the important thing is after that, I'll read it the 4 or 5 slide. I complete 4 and 5 slide about the the traditional way of teaching of review of literature. I'll give you the snapshot about it, the literature review, which is a traditional way of teaching. When your 6 month of review, 6 month of course were completed, these kind of slide you entertain with your entertained by your course instructor. These are this. But after that, there are so many questions in my mind whether I finished my coursework, but there are still. I am in confusion. Why? Because I have so many questions in my mind. What, why, when, how? Why is it so? Where I have to start? I don't know nothing. So where I have to start? Who gives me the reply? Who gives me the reply? Who clear my all the confusion? Because when I discuss everything in the research books and research slides, the literature is which I told you earlier, that in my 8 slides, that this is that and this is that, everything is there. But after that, there are so many questions in my brain. No query was cleared. So who is responsible for that, and who will clear my query? So my dear scholars, only the research supervisor. Please do open up the zip of your mouth and go and ask your research supervisor the way of styling the review of literature. Please ask him, how many sources should you review? Please ask me. If your title is this, so how many sources should you review? What kind of sources I have to pick for review of literature? Do you need to focus on a common theme or issue? Please find the ask each and every question to a research supervisor. And last question is, do you need to include background information such as history and definition? That is reviews of literature. There are so many reviews are these research papers are there. There are so many books are there. So should you include it? Once you find ask these questions to your research supervisor. If your research supervisor gives you the answer, then ask yourself. This is most important. Ask yourself. Before you start the writing, ask yourself these questions. Now listen very carefully. What kind of literature should I look for? This is very difficult because suppose I give one topic to my research scholar. Suppose we'll take the one topic. uh, this is my top research papers topic. Okay, the environment degradation. This was my top research paper. So I wrote in this paper, and this is paper is published in Q1 journal. So economic growth and environment degradation. Environment degradation. Okay, so for that paper, I'll just share my experience and share my experience with you all. I decide this topic. Okay, I want to do something about the in economics and in environment, a green environment. So how we find out the relation? How there is an impact of economic growth on environment degradation? Is there an impact or there is not no impact? So once I thought out of this topic, oh, I can do something or I can start my research. So don't close your eyes and start work on that and don't you collect the data. No, this is not the right way. So first important way is try to search on Google Scholar. There are so many websites are available on internet where you find out the research paper, reviewed paper, and the books and chapters, the study materials are vast study materials are available on internet site. So find out those research paper which covering the which focused on these two variable. If they're not focused on these two variable, but if they focus other variable of econ which represent the economy and represent the environment, then also take into account in your review in your research paper bank. Please, one thing, it's my advice and suggestion. When you start reading of or when you open your laptop and start your reading about the research paper, so please make one folder as a research paper bank. One folder of research paper bank. This is my suggestion and this is my advice to each and every research scholar. If please make a one folder and save your research paper on the basis of theme. Suppose I download 5 or 6 paper based on socio-economic indicator. So please save on the basis of theme. Okay, this will helps you out when you completed your PhD and you start your work as academician, or already maybe already you are academician. So it will help you out in future publications. for sure it will help you out. Suppose during the time of when we are doing the PhD, during the time of PhD, we collected so many data, whether it is worthy for your research or not. So please don't discard that data, whether they are not useful with for your research right at present. Please make another folder as a data bank in your laptop. Please save each and every data, whatever you download. Okay, so whether if they are not supposed to use right now, but you can use that data, maybe that data can useful in future. If you, when you complete your PhD or start your work as an academician, maybe you start some to think about to do some research paper on this data. So it's called your data bank. Got it? So this is my suggestion and advice. These two folder must have in research scholars laptop. Okay, this is my suggestion. So first you have to ask this question with yourself: what kind of literature should I look for? So that literature must what kind of literature I have to search. So in Google platform, there are so many literatures are available, but there are so many information which divert your target or which divert your option. So please focus yourself and find out only and only those research paper which talk about your selected variable, or which talk about your selected indicators. What it is mean? It means that suppose I chose two variable, economic growth and environment degradation, but I found out other paper which focus on in not economic growth, they took into account the GDP, okay, or in import or export, but that is not talking about the economic growth. But why I select that paper in as a review of literature? Because that paper also focus about the economic indicator, other economic indicator. So my job is over. I'm also select one economic indicator as economic growth, but that paper selected other indicator of economic. So whether the variables are different, but indicators are same. So we have to select that review of paper, what that paper for review. Got it? Don't think too much paper, 40, 30 paper, there is no need to do that. But focused review of literature is very important. Second important question is, what is my scope of study? What's my scope? Second, do I have enough information? Is it relevant and focused? So it is very very important after completion, completion of a research proposal, you clear in with yourself that it is, I have full information, enough information, is my strategy is clear about my research. So is it relevant? Is that paper is relevant? Is that paper is focused about what I'm searching? Then only you have to select that paper. So second, fourth important question: ask yourself that have I critically analyzed my sources? My GS students, my GS scholars, please, one thing you also remember: don't search each and every research paper, otherwise you will confused. You have a small brain, and it will be used smartly. Okay, so this is most important. Search only with that review of paper which is relevant to your study, which is focused as per your study, which gives enough information. Okay, and next important part. Suppose your research area is psychology. Okay, psychology, anxiety, and stress. Select only those paper who critically analyzed stress and anxiety in the papers. So only select those papers. So fifth question: have I referred to studies that contradict my point of view? This is most important. A research scholar always missed this question. This is most important question. These are know that 1 2 3 4, we know that it very well. That is because when we start, you have to select some paper. We know that, but we sideline this fifth number question: have I referred to study? that contradict my point of view? This is most important question, because you can find out only in that case if you select these kind of paper which is contradiction, which gives a contradictory statement. That research paper is very important for you, because that gives you the extra insight, s- next insight, or the hidden insight of your research, of your selected variable. Ki maybe it would be possible to reach the destination or not. What kind of hurdle you faced during the time of your research, if this kind of paper you select in your review of literature, because they gives a contradictory result. Suppose I'll take into account two variable. I'm sorry, I'm economist, that so that I always take into account economic variable. Okay, suppose as a academician or as a research scholar, I choose two important economic variable. First is population, and second is poverty, and third is forest. Okay, so I'll take into account this important three variable. I just want to find out this relation. He The poverty has a positive or negative, poverty has an impact on population growth and forest. Okay, or population has impact on forest and poverty ready. So now the important question is, before starting the review of literature or something, in my mind, in my subconscious mind, I have an idea that poverty and population must have positive correlation, must have. This was my idea before starting my research, because if the population increase, if your country is developing nation, so if population increase, so definitely, because as your country is developing nation and the employment rate is high in your country, so definitely the population of, sorry, poverty also increase because of these reasons. So this was in my subconscious mind, and I start my journey and I start to review the papers. So I pick those papers who talk about the population and socioeconomic variable, because poverty is a social variable and population is demographic variable and forest is environment. So more or less, if you club all the three variable, that is socioeconomic variable. So I start my journey. So I pick those paper who talk about this. But lucky I found it one paper who said no, there is a negative correlation in poverty and population. There's a negative correlation. One paper which I downloaded, he said he investigated that there is a negative correlation in between poverty and population. So when I read that paper, I found it. How is it possible? Because before my journey, I have clear idea that if I start my journey and finish my data collection and find the answer will come that both have positive correlation. But how is it this paper said negative correlation? Means if he said, and if that paper is published, it means it is already investigated, it already reviewed, and after so many channel, after completion of so many channel, only that only he was published. So it means, so once I read, I can find out those point which gives negative relation in between poverty and population. So if I reviewed that paper seriously, then I can also find out those points which I have to look into it during my research. If I not reviewed that paper, so I easily overlooked all those points which can give the positive or negative correlation in between population and poverty. Okay, so this is most important part. So the contradictory decisions paper also gives a new insight, hidden new insight about how you pursue your result, what kind of thing points, what kind of variable, what kind of residuals, error thing point you also take into account during your research. And the last important question, ask yourself, in my literature review, relevant, appropriate, and useful to my readers? Whatever review of literature I reviewed, is it useful to my readers after publisher? So finally, a review of literature must rigorous summary. This is most important. When you finished it, After so many questions, find all the questions answer with yourself. Once you start, now after all the questions, once you get the answer of all the questions, then you very much in clear ki how you start, where you have to start. Okay, what's your starting point and what is your starting step? So once you find all the answers, your this things is pretty much clear about the starting. Finishing stage, we know that will be, but where we have to start, you get each and every activities answer. So finally we can find out each and every answer, and then only we can do this rigorous review of literature. Before finding out the answer of each and every question, we can't do the rigorous review of literature or systematic review of literature. So the review of literature, after finding all the answers, you can only eligible to do this rigorous summary of all primary research evidence relevant to a focus question. Second, reviewing evidence and synthesizing finding and review of the research literature using systematic and explicit accountable method. So what's this rigorous? We don't know. The rigorous is detailed summary. First, you have to read that research paper in detail and find out all the summary of all primary research evidence relevant to a focus question. What is a specific question he focused in the research paper? Try to finding out that specific questions. Ki on what question based this research paper, whatever research paper I downloaded, in what question he focused in entire research, which question he adapt or which question is made research, what is the research question of this paper, find out that. And second important thing is review. This is a critical analysis, critical appraisal analysis. You critical dissect that paper. Okay, this is a paper, this is a review of literature. Okay, on the basis of review of literature, oh, okay, this is the title of how you critical, this is most important. I can easily told you you have to do critical appraisal analysis, but what is this? I don't know. So what is the meaning of the critical appraisal analysis? So first step is read that paper title. What is the title of that downloaded research paper? First important thing is if I want to do the critical appraisal analysis, you have to follow some steps. So first step is what is the title of this paper? Okay, once you answer is very simple. The title is this, whatever is in there written in the paper. Second important thing is oh, if the title is this, what is the objective of this paper? Objective of the papers. Okay, I'll just write it RP. Research paper. So objective of this research paper, okay, that also you can easily find out 1 2 3 4 whatever it is in the paper. Critical appraisal is not this title or objective finding. No, critical appraisal is please try to find out the relationship between objectives and the title. Is the preset objective of this study justify the title or not? Okay, please find out it. Is the objective of the research paper 1 2 3 4, there are so many objectives, is the objective justify the title? If the objective is try to measure the title, if answer comes yes, then you can find out okay, oh, this is the way. If your answer comes no, leave that paper, reject that paper, delete that paper from your review of literature. If you find the answer no, please delete that review, that paper from your review of literature bank, paper bank. Delete it because that paper is not worthy for your review. Got it? So you have to find out yes answer. Once you find out the yes answer, then you can include in your research bank. Then you have to test that question paper in next step. So okay, these are the objectives of the research paper. Then what methodology he has to adapt for to what methodology he adapt to measure that objective. Find out the methodology of this paper. Once you find out the methodology of this paper, next step is try to find out This is not critical analysis. Critical analysis is here. Once you find out methodology, try to find out, is that methodology, whatever methodology he adopt, is that methodology is justify the objective? Find out it. Is that methodology justify the objective? If you find answer yes, then you have to review it. If you find answer is no, just look at, don't reject it now, find out why.
Ma'am, there are
Yes.
5 more minutes
Okay,
left
okay.
for the
Let's just finish it.
conversation.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the last one is the methodology. Then you have to find out objective methodology and the statistical tool. What kind of statistics is applied? What kind of statistics? So whatever static regression code, there are so many ways to calculate your methodology, to test your methodology. What kind? So once he adopt the method, find out this status. Suppose he apply the regression or Johnson and co-integration method. So find out it. Is that appropriate for that methodology? Is that method, whatever method he select, is that appropriate for that methodology? Or how he investigate or how he applied that statistical tool in it to test the methodology. Okay, so if you answer find yes, then it is perfect review of literature. This is the critical appraisal. And the last but not least, find out the result. What is the result? Now the important thing is final critical appraisal is कि find out the justification of that result with title. Is the title just, is the result justify this title or not? So once you critically find out these things, so definitely your review of literature will simpler your research journey. Easily you can finish your research or PhD within a 1 or 2 years. Writing part is different, but you can easily complete your research in within a 1 and 1.5 year if you pro- use apply these procedure. If you follow these procedure, you can finish your journey. Else it would be difficult. Got it? So this is the most important point. So, and the last but not least, the clear, understandable statement must be important. So, there are so many review of process important. How you reviewed the process, review the process, formulate your research question, design your search strategy, search the bibliography. Just look at this, ki where we have to find out so many paper. First you have to design your strategy, ki that if my variable is this, so my area, decide your area with help of the variable. So once you find out your area, just my area was labeled socio-economic variable, then find out the socio-economic variable in different bibliographic data source like Science Direct, your EBSCO, Procast, or your Google Scholar. So identify the possible papers of the title and reviews that retrieve the paper and further selection the primary studies inclusion area, extract the data and quality appraisal. ये सारे process well, which I discussed with you in a next last slide, synthesize it or formulate your research or review of literature. If you follow these steps, definitely your research work is finished in 1.5 years. So it's not a very tough task. So quality of research review is depend on the thoughtfulness of the writer. How you start, the quality and reliability, the writer's source. Just look at this. It's not very difficult. It's very easy. How you decide, how you make out your strategy, how you pursue your process. That means what's your writer source. Don't use Wikipedia in your literature review. Don't find any literature from Wikipedia. Please find out the reliable resources. Please find everything from reliable resources. And third important, the quality of research is dependent on the ability of the writer to relate research study. How you relate your selection with your research study. And last, objectivity of the writers in selection, interpreting and organizing and summarizing the research. So this is the quality of research paper. So I'll just show my the major mistakes. So major mistake actually आप लोग क्या करते हैं? What is your, you just write a one paragraph of that review of literature. So you just read the abstract, find out this writer, suppose this ABCD stated investigator or research or this and this that. So don't do this because it's just a summary or paragraphic beginning is not good and not give the good point to your research. It is a bad sign. Usually it is a bad sign for your work. So don't write a paragraphic. How can we avoid this mistake? Usually this is most important point. Usually we write uh, suppose it is uh, Aurora S state or 2009 is stated or investigated or write this is a paragraph. No, this is not the right way. Don't write a summary. Please organize your literature review into sections. I already discussed with you the title, presentation, or something. So this is important because if you do your research in sections like this, your title, what is the objective of this paper, what is the statistics he adapt, what is the methodology, and what is the result. So you can easily find out, or you can easily find out how you start. If you do your review of literature in the section manner, so definitely or short you will find out your starting point, how to start. Else it would be very difficult because simple it is difficult. I'll just show you my two paper which is give you the clear reflection about this. Okay, I'll just escape and then I'll just want to share it with clear. Just give me a second, I'll share my screen with you again. Please let me know if my paper is visible.
No, ma'am, it's not visible.
Just give me a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, is it visible the this paper?
No, ma'am.
Oh, because I share my screen. I think it would be visible.
I
Ma'am,
think you
please
should try
try
again.
to share once again.
Okay, okay. I'll just share it once again. No, please check.
Yes,
Is it
now it is
visible?
visible, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah. Just look at this. Why please just find out the way which I told you which in point we have to discuss. This was my topic, the decoupling, a step towards sustainable development with reference to OECD country. This was my topic, that is decoupling. So, so when you start the reading of the review of literature, so it is very, very important. Introduction. This is the citation because I have to start in the Cuban listed journal or the good reputed journal. Nobody write it like this, that a review of literature. There's not a separate section of any paper. You have to write, you have to cite your paper in the introduction part only. Okay, so this is the way how to write your review of literature. Just find out my objective. This was my objective. So what asked, what was my title, that is decoupling. Okay, so how I would find out at the decoupling? So decoupling, I found it economic growth and environmental indicator. So next objective is to examine the evidence of decoupling damage and discuss the decoupling. So my title, my objective is justified my title. So first is yes, yeah, this is the paper we can pursue for review of literature. So next is the methodology. What's my methodology? Just read out this methodology. The methodology quantify the decoupling by the ratio between deriving force or the environmental pressure. So this is the next. Yes, my method of the research paper, whomsoever researcher, as a research scholar, if I read this, download this paper. So yes, researcher has a methodology, a researcher's methodology justify the objective. Okay, the next stage on we come on the next stage. Yeah, this is the research analysis, and the finally this is my result of my paper. So where's my result? Yeah, this is the finding. Okay, and just look at this. Oh yes, finding also the decoupling factor. Yani start with the decoupling, because if the title said the decoupling, my objective is want to investigate the decoupling. My methodology stated ki how we define, how we investigate, how we calculate, or how we estimate the decoupling. And finally I present that this is the calculation of decoupling. Yani my paper is justify each and every step. This is the reviewing of the paper. It is not a rocket science. Please mark my word. This review of literature is not a rocket science. Only you adopt the five steps. First is title, objective, methodology, and the conclusion. Is there any conclusion? Find it. If find out, you finish your job. One more important thing which nobody tells you as a research scholar, nobody tells you. It is very very important. Each and every reference must be cited in your literature. If you miss any literary, any reference, just look at this. I'm telling you, showing you in the references. This is called the citation. My each and every references is cited in the review. Sorry, in the introduction part. If you miss the citation, it is academic crime because you flunk some others work. Okay, so this is most important part, ki how you write it, the review of literature. This is the part, this is the nitty gritty and the final investigation of this part. This is my size, this okay. So this is most important, how we pursue. Got it? So with this note, if there any other questions, so please ask me. So otherwise we'll start with the question and answer. Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This was such an enlightening this thing that you've given us, this lecture that has helped us understand literature review so well. I have a request, ma'am, from AIRS, that if you could share this paper with us,
Yeah,
we would
definitely
be
I will
able
share.
to post this on the AIRS groups for our viewers today, who can do a much more, a good perusal of this paper. So it would be great if you could share this with us. Uh, if you're okay with it, then we could start with the question and answer
Yes,
round.
yes.
Yeah, the first question then is, what is the difference between primary and secondary text, and how to differentiate between the two?
Yeah. So it is very important that okay, first it's totally depend on the nature of your research. So primary text and secondary text, because there's a two way to find out your research. First is the primary sources and the secondary sources. Secondary sources, whatever the already published the data, already published the text, you follow that particular point. But if you have some literature with you, it is your opinion which you have to cite it. Okay, suppose this is my opinion, but this is my text. You have to side with your, okay, this is my understanding, this is my quotation. So you have to cite it in a primary text, because primary text is your original thinking, and the secondary text, whatever written in already published. Okay, so this is most important. That's why some of the studies said if you want to escape with the turned in plagiarism, everything you mention in the quotation, please don't do that, because it would give the bad sign of to your research. So if that is your opinion, if that is your calculation, please cite it as a primary text or author's calculation and author's opinion. If you write it, then it or that only that also accepted in as a review of literature. Got it?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Ma'am, is there also something called tertiary text, or like this primary text, this secondary text? Sometimes I've also heard somebody mention tertiary text. So,
Yes, tertiary text is that if it is suppose, so primary text whatever they publish, and tertiary text that is you mention in my blog, or suppose I write in one blog and I mention the some information on blog, and some person also put it something on the blog. So that is called the tertiary, because that is not published. That is just my opinion, but it is published on internet sources. Okay, so but that is not a authentic sources, because that is opinion which is published on internet portal. So don't you utilize that tertiary information, because that is opinion of any person. Okay.
okay, thank you, ma'am. The next question. Uh, The next question is, how long should the literature review be? In how long should the literature review be in our proposals that we submit? Because a lot of people have this problem, right? The literature review becomes too long, too short.
Yeah, yeah, this is very it's a important major problem for research scholar. How long? Because the research supervisor is very tough to the research scholars. You have to read 20 paper, 30 paper, but it is not possible to read 20 or 30 papers. Suppose, just listen. Okay, suppose I download, there is a formula, not as a formula, okay, there is a statistical formula for review of literature. No. So if you, this is important. If you read 20 article in your entire thesis, that is more than enough. Seriously, if you read 20 articles, that is more than enough, because what I said, what picture I showed you, what process I told you, you download many papers. Suppose I download 380 papers in my starting of in the beginning of my journey, okay, inception of my journey. So I download, but please mark my word, many of the research papers is not worthy for your research that time, because you have no idea, because you are in the nursery stage of research. So you have download many paper, so discard those paper. So then select again, that is n minus 1. Suppose I download 383 paper, so you discard some papers. So when you discard paper, and originally you find out only 20 papers which is as per your research, so it is more than enough and very good review of literature. So don't think too much about the review of literature. Okay, just give, listen, second important question. Suppose I review 20 papers in my entire PhD life. Okay, so just give a small summary of each by covering all the review of literature. I read this paper, this paper, this paper, and this paper, the 20 papers, and the findings of those 20 papers is this, and they try to finding out that this, but there's one research gap we identified in these 20 papers. So 20 papers say this is that. So this is looks very good of your, and increase the positivity of your research actually. This give extra point to your PhD if you mention small summary about the 20 review literature instead of 20, 30, 40 review of literature. So I'll repeat this word. If you select, or if you do only 20 review papers, or write one review summary of all that by covering all the 20 papers, it gives extra point to your PhD. Else you write 40 paper, 30 paper, and you just fill the page of 40 pages review of literature to 80 pages of it. That is worthy less. No, that is useless actually. Okay, just increase in paper size or number of paper is not good sign for any PhD. It's not look like so good. Okay, whether your PhD is just like a small page or just like this, so that's not good at all. So 20 papers more than enough, but you write one summary. So oh, that's very fine. Okay, got it.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. The next question is, using the literature review, how do I define my research problem?
Yeah, you can easily, when you reviewed the research paper, so easily you can find out the last point which I discussed in my slides. Last point is we can easily find out, oh, something is missing, because in one paper, when you reviewed only one paper, we can't find out the missing point. Okay, when we reviewed, suppose I'm not interested to do many research paper because I just want to write a one research paper, so I select only 5 paper. Okay, that is more than enough. So if I use the 5 paper, so I read, but seriousness is very important, whether you reviewed 5 paper or 50 paper. If your 50 paper non-seriously you reviewed 50 paper, that doesn't matter, that not matter at all. But if you reviewed 5 paper, that is, or seriously, that is matters a lot for your research paper. Okay, so suppose I choose 5 paper, so I find out he studied on this point. The second paper is research investigate that point. Third research paper investigate that point, and fifth investigate research paper investigate for this point. So, but important thing is, I'll repeat my answer again. First, important question, a point is कि first you have to select the 5 research paper which focused only that particular area which you want to research. Okay, selection of research paper must be based on your scope of study. Okay, कि this want to I this scope this area I want to investigate with help of this variable. So when you when you select 5 papers, so after selection of 5 paper, read 5 paper carefully and find out only one thing: which methodology he used and what is a answer, what is a result. So once you find out result, at last at the end you easily find out ki, oh, if we can pursue this kind of research in these two variable, it also we can. Got my point? He suppose these 5 paper investigate only 5 variable of economy, but in economy there are so many variable. So if those paper only talking about 5 variable of economy, then I can use that methodology in my next to in 9/10 variable of the economy. I can use that methodology. This is my risk. This can be, I can develop this as my research problem. Got it? So I want to investigate the relationship between the population and poverty degradation. Simple. और ये मैंने आपको बताया था कि the population, poverty and forest. Now with help of this review of literature, I want to investigate. Suppose I can make it out my plan that I want to investigate the nexus between the environment degradation and the poverty. This is बिल्कुल different topic. There's no population, there's no forest, and there's no nothing. Only the poverty I choose, picked, I poverty and the environment degradation. The nexus between poverty and environment degradation. This can be my research problem on the basis of the review of literature. I find out that this environment degradation is missing because each and every paper is talk about the level of socio-economic development. Ki if the economy is happy, the social society is happy, but nobody talk about the environment. If environment is not happy, how can we happy? Because we all totally depend on environment, but we have to think about that our earth also finite. So I chose this. I found this research. I designed this in my objective as a research problem. So my research problem is now my research problem is I want to investigate the impact, the nexus of an poverty and environment degradation. Now this can be my research problem because it is unexplored area. Got it?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for that
Okay.
such a succinct answer. The next question is, if there is it's related to the previous question, that if there's a lot of work that has been done on the topic that I've chosen, so and then I'm like adding more and more review of literature. So the point is that how do you smartly stop? Where do you stop and where do you decide? Ki, this I've been doing this for so long. I've been reading way too many literature that has already been written on it. How do I stop and choose smartly which of the text will help me? So if the review of literature is becoming 30 pages long, and some universities specify that your entire research proposal has to be only 6 pages long or 8 pages long,
Yeah.
so how do you navigate this?
Yeah, it's very simple because if you select, your selection in and selector is very important. Your selection active, your capability or your this will helps you a lot because if you choose, because when you start your journey, do not reject anything because you accept everything, you download everything in your paper. Second important thing is, second important point is when I download everything, so which point I select, which paper I have to select, that is most important and very difficult task because to narrow down karna, it's very difficult for research scholar, but important is it's not very difficult. You feel it, it is very difficult. Only select those paper if if you have to complete your research proposal only in the 6 page, so only highlight those paper who justify your research problem. Okay, I'll explain it again. Suppose as per my last example, I chose that, and to finding out the nexus between environment degradation and poverty. Okay, this was my selection, this was my area, this was my research topic. Okay, I have to do this. So I finalize it. Yes, I have to do this. But why you have to do this? Which paper strongly convinced you to do this? Only select those paper in your review of literature if it is matter of your page, number of page. I think you get my point. I'll repeat it again. Ki which those paper who strongly convince you ki, okay, this is a research gap. Only select those paper in your review of literature. Got it? If it is matter of your number of pages.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Thank you so much for that
Okay.
answer. It gives me a lot of clarity myself as well because I'm writing my proposal. So, anyway, the next question: can I quote other writers in my literature review, or should I just summarize their arguments in the sense of
No.
citations? How?
Yes,
So,
yes, yes. You have to. Yeah, just a sec. I'll just tell you because this is a problem of each and every research scholar, because this is a condition of your PhD submission, that you have to check the plagiarism, and you have to submit the plagiarism report, and the plagiarism report must be less than 10%. Got it? So when you check that plagiarism report, okay, plagiarize, check the plagiarize in the Turnitin software or some other software, whatever your university have. So they plagiarize most of the part of the review of literature. They plagiarized. Okay, they plagiarized. But the important thing is, so this is a one important escapism tool. This is made by the scholars, or this is mouth publicity solution for the research scholar. You put each and everything in the code. So once you put the each and everything in the code, that the plagiarized report will not consider that, or it will remove your plagiarism similarity index. Okay,
ma'am, but
okay,
supposing when we are
but
summarizing their arguments, and we
yeah,
write that this person has said in this book or in this article has said so and so, is that easier, or should I always put the quotation marks?
no, not always put the quotation marks, because if quotation marks is a tool to save your similarity index. That's it. So it will get that sign of your literature. But more majority of research scholars do this thing because it is a possibility if you put the quote. But if there is a second important point, if you want to reduce your similarity index, don't put, there is no need of any quote. You write that quotation, that in summarization, that literature summarization in your own word. Correct? That is important. But quote other, if you quote other writers in your review of literature, you can quote. Correct? But you have to mention with the year in the bracket. So you reduce your similarity index. If you not quote it properly, so definitely it will increase your similarity index. Don't just summarize their arguments. This that suppose you cite my name, that Shilpi Gupta stated this. No, that time Shilpi Gupta comes out. The turned in will select the Shilpi Gupta's name and then show it is similarity index. Don't do this. If you write it, Dr. Shilpi Gupta in 2008, or you write my paper's name as per the citations notification. If you write also citation formatting, if you write it and summarize in your own word, then it is clearly correct. Okay, you can quote some other's statement, but mention his or her name. Got it? And
Yes.
also you can summarize some other's work, but quote her or his name over there. Got it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you so much. The next question is: how do I cite the text I use in my review of literature? Should proposals have footnotes, endnotes, and citations?
That is totally depend on the requirement of your PhD. Suppose if you want to submit your PhD, that is totally depend on your requirement of your PhD thesis formatting. But if you're planning to submit some research paper, so in the research paper they have some manuscript, some guidelines, manuscript submission guideline. If they want that citation, you have to mention in the footnote. Then only you have to submit in the footnote. Otherwise, no. Because which paper I have shared with you, that Taylor Francis paper, they never asked that mention the site in the footnote. But when you submit that your research paper in Elsevier and Emerald, they asked to submit that citation in footnote as well. So that is totally depend on the manuscript guideline style of each and every journals. That is very as per the journals. Okay, but in your proposal, what's your university guideline following? Then you have to put it. Okay, but important thing is whether any university follow any guideline, manuscript guideline, they want that some also cite in end note or footnote. Agree, but important thing is you have to cite each and every reference. Got it? Cite must be proper. Citation must be proper. And now the important thing is how do we cite in the text? When I start my introduction, I'll just again I'll share this my paper, so I can clear your doubts. Just give me 1 minute. Is my paper is visible?
No, ma'am. Could you share it again?
Uh, yeah, yeah, please. I'll just do this.
Yes, ma'am. It's
Uh,
visible now.
Visible? Okay, just a second. Yeah, just look at it. So how I start? This is my introduction. This is nothing else. This is my introduction. So I'll start the citation from here. Just read the line. I'll just increase the font size. I think it is clearly now. Is it clearly visible now? Yeah. So I write one line. I'll just mention this is not complete paragraph which is written by this Kuznets 1955 and he and Richard in 2010, Liatel and 2000 Stephen Mann. I cite five article, one and the two and the three and the four and the five. I cite five article in one or two line. Just look at this. But how? What is the style? How I write it? So because each and every, whether it is Kuznets 1955, Richard 2010, Liato 2010, Stephen and Mann 2013, they all are talking about economic growth and environment degradation, a positive correlation. And just look at this. Some research has supported the existence of environment Kuznets curve. So these are the person who supported the environment Kuznets curve existence in case of environment degradation and economic growth. So how I mention, how I cite in my text, when you start your writing an introduction, the citation starts in your introduction because don't start your introduction just like suppose this what is the environmental economic growth and this is environment. No, you start your introduction and start citation in introduction, then this paper will consider in very good economy, very good journals if your citation is proper. Just look at the second line. What I said. However, a substantial body of research has cast doubt on whether countries can truly grow their way out of environment. Yes, sir. All the person in 2002, Herbag in 2000, Stamps and Johnson, Bergson, Clavia, and Miles. They give the contradictory review of literature. What I said, the substantial body of research that count doubt on the existence of this. This is the style of how you review, how you write a review in your paper or in your research. Got it? In the text you read, because why you choose this topic, that you, because you're starting, because this point, ये जो title है, why you choose this title? Because you find out some research gap. That's why you start to thinking about it. Oh yeah, there is some possibility. So okay, it is unexplored area, so you want to explore it. So if it is unexplored, so maybe if it is unexplored and you decided to explore it, so obviously it happened because of the review of literature. So you start your review of literature through papers in introduction. and each and every point you easily justify. Okay, so I write it. So humans are in danger of exceeding planetary boundaries because it is mentioned in this. But unrestrained growth is also a root of cause of unsustainability because it is loss of quality of life. There's so review of literature. So I'll mention each and every person's name is there. But look at this beauty of this review of literature. I mentioned 2007. Simultaneously, I mentioned 2008 and 2011. Got it? Because
Yes,
more
ma'am.
or less they are finding the same way. They are telling they investigated in the same way, the result in the same way. The results of these study comes out in the same way. So I mentioned in the one bracket. Got it? So this
Yes,
is
ma'am.
the point. How you write in the text, how you write your paper or review of literature in text. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. This is a very good example. Thank you so much for sharing your paper with us. This has, I'm sure, clarified a lot of questions with the viewers as well. The next question is, what other sources apart from Wikipedia is something that we cannot quote? Like, what are the different sources that are
Yeah,
not
that's the
reliable?
sources with you have to very careful when you quote the sources. No Wikipedia, no blogs, never quote the blogs in your research. We find out this information in the blogs. Okay, on the newspaper site, these sites are cannot be quote in your part. Yeah, newspaper sorry, statement you can quote, but there are so many sites, Wikipedia, there is so many bloggers, never cite these kind of resources. Your site must be authenticate. Where's the research paper available? Where's the data source is available? Only those kind of sites you quote in your study. But quote is the word of quote is different. Wikipedia, never quote the Wikipedia, never use a Wikipedia reference in your review of literature. So quotation is different. Okay, so never quote these kind of sites, never quote those kind of sites which don't have any authentic information. In fact, we are we are economists and statisticians, so there are so many data bank is available for us, that indiastata.com and something something. But when we write the research paper, the our eminent eminent academicians that don't believe on this website of these data bankers. Why is it so? Because they manipulated the data, because there's a job of the providing the data. So they never provide the true data. So if you want to search the true data, you have to find out on the World Bank site on but because that is authentic site, because those sites job is not selling the information. So only choose those sites which job is not selling the information. Their job is to discriminate the information to the viewers or listeners. Got it? So Wikipedia को कभी use नहीं करना, not blog and nothing. Don't quote the bloggers about blogger sites. Okay, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I think eighth question is kind of related to this question. What sites and other materials can are we cannot cite as reliable resources? So you mentioned blogs
Yeah.
and you mentioned Wikipedia. Is there anything else that we should be wary of?
What
And
sites
as
and website? Yeah.
Fatima has also asked that what
Yeah.
then
I
becomes a
already
reliable
mentioned that
source?
you can use the Science Direct, Google Scholar, then EBSCO, Procast, which are those sites which are meant for the collection of the research paper, because you can find out true information only and only through the published informations. Okay, published sources. So why is it so? Why I'm quoting this line? Because published sources only and only published after reviewing with someone. This paper, I shared my paper na. This paper is reviewed, then only it is published by Taylor Francis. So it means that this information can be authenticate because this information is reviewed. So this paper is reviewed. Suppose if there is some platform, there is one platform where you go and just submit your manuscript. They published within a second. They publish your review the book with ISSN and with ISBN number. Okay, so this is the most important, but that is not reliable. Anyone can enter in that and the site, and they just upload their manuscript. Within a 5 minute, 10 minute, and a half an hour, you find out your published book with ISSN or ISBN number. But my dear, that is not reliable. So don't search those website which is freely available for these kind of publication. Only choose a Google Scholar, because they reviewed, because that is connected with the ORCID ID. So anyone cannot go in the Google Scholar. Any paper cannot publish in the you can find out in Google Scholar. So Science Direct, there is one other pros Procast and AppSco. Okay, there's other sites available with a question bank, so you can find out your reliable source over there. So now the question is how to select topic for research. This is very important question. Okay, so topic for research, this is very important question. I'm really very surprised that someone asked me this question, because when you start your research, this is the first important question of your future supervisor. Suppose you met with me as a ma'am, I want to do some research on this topic. So matlab, I want to enrolled in PhD. I want to join in the PhD. And select you as my research supervisor. So each and every supervisor asks this: what's your topic for research? My dear bacha, nobody can decide before review of literature. Yes, I agreed that this is a review topic. So my advice you to all: review your literature with okay. First, you review your literature, whether it is 5 paper or 10 papers. Review your literature. If you feel yes, I'm comfortable with this analysis part or with this variable, then you decide your topic. Okay, and it's not a rocket science to decide your topic. Suppose I reviewed 5 paper and I feel happy. Oh yes, I'll just show you my one another paper. I'm not taking too much time. I'll just show you. This is very important, because this is very important. Why I want to discuss with you. Just show this again. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'll just share my screen, and then please let me know, is it visible or not?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. This is most important. I'll just try to explain each and every question of my participant, because it is very very important, because you are in the dilemma to start this paper. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Yeah. This is my first. This is my paper. I submitted this paper in the Taylor Francis Journal. I'll just why I uh, discuss with you. It is not published now. Okay, but why I discuss with you? This is the topic. I don't know about this topic, because I have no idea about the adoption, or before I'll start this paper. Write the paper. I have no idea about this, the ISO 14001, and this says mathematics through mathematical model, the Z Helvig method. I'm economist. I'm a statistician, but I'm not mathematician, but I know the calculation. So once a time I sat in my room, so I just download one paper, and that one paper used one Helvig method, and he measured some level of economic development. He only measured the level of socio-economic development in European Union. What was that paper? Paper was that level of socio-economic development in European Union by using the Z Helvig method. I read that paper. I found, oh yes, it's a very easy. Why don't we apply this method in connection of ISO 14001 and the GHG emission and the level of socio-economic development? This was my finding, because he only investigate the level of socio-economic development in European Union. Then I find out other relation by using that same method in OECD countries. Got it? One question was asked to me, ki how you find out the research problem. Just look at this. I reviewed one this paper, level of socioeconomic development in EU country, European Union, and he used this Helvig method. I planned my paper, I developed my paper, and I mentioned it. I find research problem, I select other variable, level of ISO, GHG emission, and that was the variable which is used by that paper, the level of socioeconomic development. His area was European Union, mine area is OECD country. So I found a research problem, I made my paper or designed my title, and I pursue my research in this way. Just look at this. This is the abstract. Okay, it's okay. So I start this the point. This is the citation. I start with the citation, that economics and the growth and something something. This is a and okay. One thing also very very important to be noted here. If you publish your own article, you can also cite. This is my article which I mentioned. I cite myself in this paper because it can be possible. You can cite yourself as well. Got it? Got my point? So this is also you can do. So this is my point, and then it is the important. So research topic I select, and this is my objectives to explore multidimensionality of level of socioeconomic development or something. There are five objectives. I just want to know tell you this is this point. Just look at this analysis. I never do this kind of mathematics. I'm not mathematician, but I I love the calculation. I love calculation. Whether I am not mathematician as a professional, I'm an economist, but I love calculation. Love. Okay, mathematics. I love mathematics, so I use these informations and these calculation, and I applied that method in my economics. Got it? So how you select the topic? How I write this topic? Simple. How I write this topic, because I reviewed that paper which I mentioned, the level of socioeconomic development, and other papers also as okay with those paper who use this said Helvig method. Mark my word, what I said. I reviewed five papers, but all those five paper who use this Z Helvig method. I'm not reviewed all the paper who talking about level of socioeconomic development. No, I select only those paper who talking about this Z Helvig method. Once I reviewed, I write my title. This is my answer with example key how you can pursue. Got it?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for giving so much clarity with this. Especially when you shared your paper, it kind of started to make a lot more sense. Because when we discuss these things theoretically, it still does not, give us as much clarity as actually seeing what you've been doing. So thank you so
Yes,
much for
this is
that.
a
There
point.
is
This is very important.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. So there is one last question from Fatima Naziruddin. She says, "How can we conclude all our ideas in the conclusion chapter coherently?"
Yeah, that is important because conclusion chapter is when you submit your research, and then some research is going to some other external. So external only read your conclusion part. He never reviewed your review of literature. He never read that. He never read your introduction part. He only read, or he or she only read two things. What's the objective? What her methodology? And second, what's the conclusion? So important thing is ki all our ideas, no, you write your conclusion the stepwise. You can't mention all the ideas, because idea word is not proper, because when you researched idea there's a difference between the idea and what we can't use idea, because idea is not estimated. Idea is not quantify word. We can't quantify the idea is my opinion, that's it. So whatever you research, please mention focus more emphasized on your conclusion. You start your conclusion with one by one there, or you write your conclusion and you justify each and every. When you start your conclusion, to start first, write first objective and the objective and the first methodology. And you, it's my advice. I'm not maybe your research supervisors not agree with this, because but If I'll advise, so it is very, very important that ki whatever objective you decide, whatever you uh, set the hypothesis to justify your preset objectives, you, in conclusion, you mention, first you mention your objective and then hypothesis and what conclusion you drawn in your research analysis and data analysis. You mention that, okay, this was my objective and this was the first hypothesis, and that result I find out, which accept the null hypothesis or reject whatever it is, please mention section wise. Write your conclusion section wise, the objective wise. This was my objective, this is my hypothesis, and this was the result. It gives a clarity to the external, it gives a clarity to other person who read your thesis. Got it? If you
Yes,
write
ma'am.
it,
Yeah.
your conclusion is summarizing way, nobody going to read. In fact,
Yeah.
once you finish your PhD, now you never read your PhD again.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank
I
you.
think this has been one of the success lectures today, because we've gotten a lot of response stating that this has been very this has helped them, that there's been good information in it, and also the delivery has been great. So thank you so much for choosing to come on our platform and for giving this lecture to us today. I think we've had the last question, and I think I can now read the word of thanks and officially bring this lecture to a close. um, I'm sure that you all viewers would agree when I say that it was a great learning experience to hear Dr. Shilpi speak today. Her lucid arguments, her enthusiastic delivery, and command over the topic, as well as the depth of her knowledge, was inspiring. I thank the president of AIRS, Ariba Esenath, for conceptualizing, realizing, and bringing to fruition this lecture. I would also like to thank our speaker for taking time out of her busy schedule to join us today once again this week and giving us this enlightening lecture. I thank the discussants for being such good participants today. And lastly, I would like to bring special thanks to Evangeline for joining us today and for starting this lecture and for being there and reading the bio note of the speaker. Um, it is only through the unfailing guidance of our president, Adiba Hasanat, that this event is possible. So I thank her once again. And thank you so much, ma'am, for
Thank
doing
you.
this with us. And this has been really great having you here and listening to you talk. It has given me a lot of clarity in the work that I am doing as well, because I'm just begun my PhD work with Center for
Oh,
Comparative Literature in University of Hyderabad. So I've just finished like my proposal, and the doubts are still there. I mean, it's just the beginning, right? So
okay.
yeah,
So if anyone has doubt and if I can clear your doubt, you can call me or you can drop a mail to me. Okay, this was your
I would
problem
love to,
and
ma'am.
this is your research proposal. You stuck here. So what's the solution? So I definitely help you out. Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for being
Okay.
so approachable as well, which is very rare, to be very honest.
It's my pleasure to be share my knowledge because as being a teacher, it's a duty of teacher.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
it's a
Thank
noble
you.
job, it's not a professional. Because we all are the teachers, we think about the professionally, but no, this is a second noble job. First is for doctors and second is for teachers. So if we think about
Yes,
it
ma'am.
as noble job, then we can make the better society, we can serve for the better society. This is my
Thank you,
opinion, I
ma'am.
don't.
We need more teachers like you in our life. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, ma'am. So I officially draw this lecture to a close. Thank you for joining us. Thank you,
thank you,
viewers, for
thank you,
joining us as well.
thank you,
All right.
thank you,
Thank you, ma'am. Have a good
thank
day.
you, thank you.
Goodbye.
Have a good day, you too, Vicha.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.